What's happening? It's time for another Accountability Success Circle Quickie. We're talking about consistency, so hop on over, hit those little emojis, let us know that you're there or watching the replay. Hashtag live, hashtag replay. We're about to get started. Are you consistent? Or are you all over the place? I don't know. We're about to find out and talk about how you can achieve consistency. All right, Apryl, are you ready?
I am ready, Freddy.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
I like this song.
Right?
It definitely feels 80s.
Right? Exactly.
But it's good. I like it. So whoever's music this is, great job.
Great job. You're doing amazing. All right. What's happening, everybody?
Woohoo!
It is time for another Accountability Success Circle Quickie. And
Quickie.
Yes. And I'm just making sure that everything is great here. All right. I hear everything. I see everything.
Team is consistent.
Yes, we are consistent, and we have been consistent. This is is it our third in a row?
For the last few weeks, yes.
Yeah, right.
I was going to say it's our 59th, but I guess that's...
It's our 59th Quickie total.
We've had 59 quickies.
Wow, that's a lot of quickies. That's a lot of
just throwing
it in your face, just the tips. But yes, we are the success team at the Accountability Success Circle. I am Gary Ware, and I'm joined by the ever so fabulous
Apryl Schluter.
Yes. Right?
We are here. Yes, we are here, and we are going to share some awesome wisdom with you today because we are all about having fun and getting stuff done. Right?
Right, exactly. Cool. And so, consistency. Consistency is something for me personally that, I don't know, like up until maybe like 10 years ago, maybe, I wasn't that good at it. And then, then I started, being a little bit more intentional about things that I wanted to get. And I realized, oh yeah, I can be consistent. It was just a story that I was telling myself that I couldn't be consistent for whatever reason. So, applied the things that we're going to talk about today. So super excited. Let's just dive in with number 1, and I'll kick it off, which is understand your desired outcome. For me, as I mentioned, about 10, 12 years ago, I, deep into my professional career, and I realized that there were things that I wanted to do. I had personal goals and stuff like that, but it was like this yo-yo, like where I would get somewhat success. I would hit those goals a little bit, and then that self-sabotage or self-preservation, depends on how you want to look at it, will kick in, and then I would stop. I would do it and stop. And it was just like sort of stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. And then once I realized that the way that I was looking at it was wrong, it started to shift things. For me, I think the biggest thing was when I ran my first half marathon. And prior to that, didn't think that I was able to do that. Like I think it was like a 5K was the most I've ever ran. And so the thing about understanding your desired outcome is, just being honest with yourself, like what is it really that you want to achieve? And for me, it wasn't necessarily like, running a half marathon. It was all about having more energy. It was all about, being healthy for me. So that was the thing. Once I identified what the desired outcome was, that almost like became like my North Star. So, Apryl, you want to pick it up where I dropped it off?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and this is going to be interesting the way that I phrase this. We'll see how it comes out of my mouth. Anyways, when you're thinking about like creating desired outcomes, when I think of consistency, I tend to think of like, okay, I got to do the same thing day in, day out, every day, like brush my teeth every morning, like that type of habitual consistency. But similar to what Gary was sharing, there are certain things in my personality that I know are not necessarily always consistent, right? Like I have done a lot of things in my life, and I like experiencing new experiences, doing things in different places. You know, like I like the fitness, but I like the music, and I like arts, but I like math. How does this show up with any sort of consistency? But then, you know, having this whole mindset of, you know, what is it that I really want? And what is it that I enjoy about myself? I like the fact that I'm a well-rounded person. And so the consistency there for me is the fact that I am exposing myself to new, fun, different types of things like improv and trapeze and running and spin class and substitute teaching, and doing things that almost create this consistency that is all about the well-roundedness rather than consistently doing that same thing. And so I think it's really important to understand who it is that you want to be and how you want to show up, and letting that be the drivers of your consistency, right? You don't want to just do something for the sake of doing something, but it's understanding the why behind that is super important. So while the things that I do might not look consistent to somebody, the consistency of being somebody who has a wide array of experiences is consistent with what I continue to do. And it probably means that I need to look for something new and exciting in the coming months, and to try to do to keep it spicy. So that's what I have to share.
I love that.
Getting your desired outcome.
Yes, and
hop into number 2, or you were going to say one more thing?
I was just going to say one quick thing about the why. Like when you have that why, like why are you doing this? Like what is it all for? It does help you, realize that when it gets boring or when it gets mundane, it's for something bigger, and also because it's something bigger, you can give yourself grace when you fall off, and you can be resilient and think of something else to help you get there. For me, like I said, it was all about being healthy. It was all about, putting myself in a position where I, have energy. And so when I stopped doing, half marathons just because of all kinds of things, I, like Apryl said, what is that next thing that will help me in that consistency of continuing to better myself and stay healthy? So that is a great segue to number 2, is understand what drives you. What are your motivators? When you're trying to go on this like sort of big journey, this big quest, and there are all these things that you have to do, and like I said, it may get mundane, or you may have some sort of fear or procrastination, whatever the case may be. Being that I love, play, I love how can we gamify it? And the best way to gamify it is understand what motivates you and how can you activate that. This is a big life hack. How can you activate that when you need to? Because again, this is all about the long game. For the people that like, yeah, I can get there quick. You're not going to be consistent, and you're not going to keep it. You're probably going to fall back. And so there are going to be moments when it is like challenging, or you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. But again, when you're thinking about your why and why this is, bigger, bigger than you, and it's all about getting there eventually. You have to sort of tap into that sort of inner drive. And some of the big things that I like to say, and I love to turn over to Apryl in just a second, and because she has some very specific examples and some great perspective on this. But I like to say that your own sort of motivators, you either like to run towards pleasure, things that make you feel good, or run away from pain, pleasure or pain. That is just, it's ingrained in us. It is like at a primal level. And if you know that, and you know what specifically works for you, and it may vary depending on the situation. You can set up a situation where either like you're going to reward yourself when you do things a certain way, maybe you hit a streak, or you avoid pain or some sort of demotivator. That's going to be the thing to motivate you to keep going. So, Apryl, you wanna pick it up?
Yeah, there's when I think about motivators, I think about the fact that we know that there are times when we, can self-motivate and be like, okay, I want to do this, because there's usually some sort of risk or reward that we're trying to avoid or collect on. And sometimes some of those things can be positive, such as, okay, if I do this thing, I can make more money. Or if I show up on, I'm using the example of like showing up on social media and I engage with people who are engaging back with me, I might get more followers. Like there's direct results that come from, or even direct outcomes that come from the actions that you're taking. But sometimes, and I think this is just part of psychology. Like we go through slumps and it's like you almost don't want it to, you want it to be consistent, but you don't want it to be boring. And you need to keep on figuring out, like, as you start to like kind of go through these waves of like, okay, I'm cruising, I'm grooving, I'm doing great, and then I'm slowing down. You need to figure out what those motivators are as a way to kind of, keep that tool in your pocket to inspire you to move. So as you might have things such as things that also are, scary, like things that might be a fear that you want to run away from, which what Gary was talking about. And so I think understanding what motivates you, I know that, if I were to like lose a lot of money on something, like, or, like if I didn't pay a bill and it impacted my credit score, maybe like that's going to be the accountability that I need to make sure that I don't, ignore my bills. Or, it might even be somebody checking in on you, somebody knowing that you're doing stuff. Like a lot of times coaches can serve in that purpose to be like, I just need somebody to know that I'm doing this, because if I don't have to report to somebody, nobody needs to know when I fall off the wagon, which is why a lot of times for me, I know that, when it comes to fitness, I have to go to a class where somebody can see me, because if I'm just going through the motions, even though that's kind of what I'm moving, I'm not really getting the results that I want or getting my desired outcome without having somebody looking at me. So you need to understand, like, are people your motivators, people outside of you? Is it money? Is it, the fear of something that can happen? Understand those little things that drive you. And there's a whole bunch of different things, but, the primary ones that come to mind for me are, is it like something that can give you money or some sort of reward? Is it something that, is external to you? Like, are people a way to like motivate you? Or even just kind of switching a structure could be something, as well as, keeping things spicy, as I was saying, doing the same thing to try to keep it consistent, but then maybe approaching it from a different angle. That could be another option. Just trying to make it more fun. So yeah, that's all I've got for number 2. Understand what drives you, understand what motivates you. And should we go to number 3?
Yes. And this one is an interesting one because it works, but yet some people, because they want to go big or go home, have a challenge with it. But this is all about consistency. And the best way to be consistent is baby steps, small baby steps. A few things come to mind with this. If you're into finance, you probably know about compound interest and the power that compound interest can make. And, they always have this thought experiment, like, what would you rather have? One penny that doubles in value every day for 30 days or $1 million. What would you rather have right now? And, Apryl know this. So, if I ask her, she knows what the right thing is. But seriously, Apryl, like, the first time that you heard about this, what did you say?
Do I want the
$1 million right now, or a penny that doubles in value every day for 30 days?
Of course, I just want the money right now, right?
Yeah, right.
then it just goes away.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but the thing with the penny is that a penny that doubles in value, by day 30, it's more than $1 million. But see,
yeah,
this is the thing. In the beginning, it goes from a penny to 2 pennies, from 2 pennies to 4 pennies, from 4 pennies to eight. Like, and it doesn't seem like it's making progress. But guess what? It is building up steam. It is building up steam. And that is the beauty about baby steps, is that it can help you definitely stay consistent because of a few things. One, it's small enough where your brain is like, oh, I can do this. All right, cool. Like, so the procrastination goes away. And then, it's like as you saw in our opening image, that turtle, the slow and steady wins the race. Now, it's not necessarily sexy, but over time, when those results are coming in, then you're like, oh, heck yeah. So one of the things for me specifically about this was, when I really started diving into personal development, I was like, you know what? I want to read more. I talked a big game about like, yeah, I have all these books. Felt like I was more of a collector of books than a reader of books. And then I read the book Miracle Morning, and they were talking about like, yeah, your morning rituals and stuff like that. And then so I read a book, yay! But then I read Sean Aker's book. Was it? I forgot which one I read first, but Happiness Advantage, I think, is what I read first. And he was talking about reducing activation energy, making something easy so that, there's no, you have no reason to do it. So I went, instead of, trying to like read like a chapter a day or something like that, that just seemed overwhelming, to read 10 pages a day. And that doesn't seem like much, but I consistently read 10 pages a day in a book. And after 10 pages, I had a choice: put it down, or if I had the time, keep going. But on some days I kept going. Most of the time, like, I'm like, all right, cool, that was enough. But after a year, if you think about it, 10 pages a day, 365 days is 3,650 pages, which is the equivalent about 26 bucks.
that's a lot.
Yeah. And so I'm on the baby steps game, and again, it's not sexy, but it is effective. And what are your thoughts, April?
Yeah, and I think that the big thing here that we have to, and I think Gary and I have both experienced this, is the whole reason that we want small baby steps. And I know, as somebody who likes to just go all the time, and who's one of the big goals for my year this year was to just slow down, is the fact that, taking big steps too fast is like, drinking out of a water hose, and it can lead to burnout. We don't see that, like, we still need time to recharge and do what we do, in order to do what we do. But if we are exerting all of our energy up front, we're going to have to make that energy back in some way, shape, or form. And I think maybe it's because I'm really focused on, my running training that I've been doing the last couple months, and trying to, get back into shape pre-COVID, and thinking about all of these things that I want to do. Like, I ran my first 5K a couple months ago, and I was talking to my running coach and saying, like, okay, her goal for me was to do better than what I did in the last race. So I said, do you think I can shave 5 minutes off of my time in a month? And, she kind of brought me down to earth and said, okay, I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but I do think that this is more doable. And then I didn't even hit that by the time I had my second 5K. But now, now that I'm sitting here trying to like shave time off, I'm trying to think about different strategies. And so one of the things that I've been doing as an example of, small baby steps is, I know that my last race, I think my average pace was like a 10:53. And so I was noticing it was because I was like running so fast at the beginning, like a 8-minute pace. And then by mile 3, I was like 13, 14 minutes, because I was trying to like catch my breath. And so this whole month of training, I have been like bringing down my pace and trying to like force myself to run that even pace for the entire run. Like, so if I have to run for 25 minutes, I started at 11:40 pace and then like worked my way down 10 seconds every week. So we're going to see if I'm going to do better at this next race, which is next weekend. So, but it's one of those things where you need to take the small baby steps, because you're not going to be able to accomplish what it is that you want to do. You're going to burn out somewhere if you burn all your energy in sporadic hits, or if you do it in too confined of a space. So spread it out, put one foot in front of the other and just kind of try to keep that consistency, and that might help. And I'll have to report back to see if I'm able to cut off even more without sacrificing time. But that's just another example of like trying to keep it simple with small baby steps. So yeah, that's our 3 tips. Consistency is definitely achievable. I think we just have to allow ourselves to not fall into like the quick and dirty result, because I think that's what breaks our consistency. And same thing when you're trying to just do life, right? If you're trying to do too many things at once, something else is going to suffer. So trying to take your time is going to be the best way to do that consistency. And it might not feel great in the moment because your progress doesn't seem like instantaneous and feel so grand. But if you allow yourself that space, you'll definitely feel more consistent and be able to potentially do the same amount slower and enjoy the ride a little bit more than if you were to just kind of like pummel through it. Do you agree?
Agreed. 110%. So
anyway,
yeah. Bring it home.
And as we were mentioning at the beginning, we are the co-founders of the Accountability Success Circle. We are focused on helping people achieve goals in the most fun, connected, authentic way. We have this amazing retreat that is coming up in, I think, 3 weeks at this point, which is going to help you plan on your goals for 2022, help you get a kickstart to the year before it's even started. And this is a great time to start thinking about that. 2020 and 2021 have been those types of years where just maybe it hasn't, been what you haven't accomplished what you wanted to, but we're always hopeful that next year can be that year, and with some intention, we'll be able to do that successfully. So if you are interested in learning about the retreat or even learning about the community, you could check out accountabilitysuccesscircle.com, or you can check it out at the link below. So check us out, and then we'll be back with you in another little bit with some more wisdom, because it is super fun. So
yay!
Hang out with us.
Cool. See y'all next time.